everybody, thanks for tuning back into my YouTube channel, Self-Publishing 101 with Lawrenzo Manza. And we're actually going to finish our book cover today. And then the next video will actually go over to KDP. We will upload it. We will create a back cover for it and a spine for it and get it ready to go on Amazon. So let's get going. So here we have Microsoft Publisher is what I like to use. I think it's a really great software program for creating covers and back covers. Easy to use, part of Microsoft Word. Microsoft Publisher is part of Microsoft Office. It's Office 2010. You can use a higher or lower version if you want. I don't think there's much of a difference. So let's get going. This is what I call my storyboard right here. I have lots of stuff on it that I thought I was going to use for the cover, but then after placing it on the cover and looking at it, I decided it wasn't going to work. So decided we'd just leave it. This is the scrap side, and this is the clean side, the side that I want to use. When I create a title for my cover, I like to create each line in a separate text box so I have independent control when I want to move it around and place it, as opposed to, you know, Cancer, Seek, and Destroy the little C as one text box. When I move it, everything moves. I want to independently move it. And I'll show you an example that if I really want to get into even more independent control, I can make Cancer one text box, Seek another text box, and another text box, Destroy another text box, and so forth. But now it all kind of looks the same, so let's kind of move it around and I'll show you. There's a text box there. There's a text box here. I'm just going to kind of really move it. Here's a text box. That's a text box there. I'm just going to really spread it out. That's a text box there. And the little C is another text box. Okay, so now we created our title, and you're probably saying, well, how did he create a text box? What's he talking about? You know, in Word, you just type in and there's your text. It forms lines and paragraphs, and then it goes into a new chapter and so forth. You indent or don't indent and so forth. A little bit different on creating a cover the way I want to create it is we said separate text box, separate, 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 separate. And the only thing that's missing is the name, my name, the author name. So we'll do that. But you just go up to home, always click home. This blue arrow that's going to the left allows you to move to the last move you made. So let's say you move, let's show examples. So examples are the best way to teach you what's going on. So let's just say, I didn't want to move it there, and I don't want to, if I move it back, it's going to be totally out of alignment. Just go to this arrow and click it, and it goes back to where it was. If you made 2 or 3 moves, click it, click it, click it, and you eventually end up where you started. So let's go back to drawing a text box. Click that, it turns yellow. This turns inside the page to a cross, and it draws a text box. And then the text box, the font doesn't matter right now. The size is a little small, so let's make it like 28. And you see now your cursor's bigger. Now you have a white background, so you don't want to have a white colored font. So we go into this A up here, and it says font color. You're still in the home version, so just follow my arrow, my cursor, and then we'll make sure we're in white. Because if you were in white, see what happens? It disappears. You can go to any color you want. You can go to red, and your font's red, and so forth. But you don't want to go to white. So let's just put Lawrenzo as one box, and let's go back to home, and let's create another box. Again, just click it when it's yellow. You get the cross and you draw your box. And let's just type in, again, let's bring this up to 28, and we can just click the A and it should turn to the color of the font color we just used. So let's just do, okay. So now we have two boxes, just like this is a box and this is a box. And the reason is because we can really move these boxes around a lot. Go back to home. Now, and we want to make these boxes smaller. They're too big. It doesn't matter that much, but just nice to have it as small as you need it. So that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and bring this up. And let's say we wanted it this way. Now, that doesn't look like a big deal, but let me show you something I really like. When you drag something with a mouse, it sort of doesn't move as smoothly. And I have a really high-end mouse. There's a little glitch, a little sort of a skip in there. I want to really fine-tune this thing. I want to move this thing over a smidge this way and a hair upwards and so forth. So click into your text box and then click it on the line itself, and you see it kind of shrinks. And then on your keyboard, which I can't show you through this video, but near your number pad, there's arrows that are up and down and side to side, left side, right side, up, down. We're going to use those to actually move this thing very precisely. So let's say you really wanted this puppy tight and you wanted it lined up to look like that. Just say, for instance, there you have it. And if you want to look at it again, like magnify it, you can magnify it and kind of look and say, yeah, that's kind of an interesting, I like that. That's the kind of, I'm writing a mystery and I want this title to have that sort of look to it. I think that's what I want to create for my title. So we'll go back, and I like to work in about, like I said, about 50. There we go. And now we're just going to get rid of these guys, because hopefully you understand now how to create your text box and anything you want to put in the text box, from your author's name to your description or a sort of a subtitle on your cover or the title itself. You have more control by doing your boxes separately. All right, so now we want to put what? We want to put our cover in here. Now, this is a 5.5 by 8.5, and if your book is this size or any size your book is going to be, your manuscript has to be the same size pretty much for your cover. So if the book you're writing is 5.5 by 8.5, your cover and your back cover have to be 5.5 by 8.5. So what you do is you go back to home and slide it across to the right and look at page design and go into size and click it. Mine says current is 5.5 by 8.5. Now, if my book, if I'm just starting out, like from scratch, I don't have anything on my storyboard, I'm just going to be like, first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the size of, we'll call it the cover that we want. So we can go to create new page size, click it, and then type 5 by 10. And then this will turn into 5 by 10 your page. Okay, so let's go back to home and let's get our cover on there. Now, I said a cover can be a graphic, it can be a drawing, it can be a photo. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're happy with it and you think that's going to make your cover for your book and make your book look better. So what we do is we go into insert, and then we go into picture, and you see that says insert picture from file. So I keep a lot of my files, folder files, on my desktop. So we're going to go in, we're going to go to desktop, and we're going to click this, double click it, and that's where I keep the photo. Now, I made some book covers already, because obviously this book is for sale on Amazon. And we're not going to look at those. We're actually going to go like start from sort of almost from scratch. So where is my cover? Boom, boom, there it is. Let's take a look at that. There it is. That's the cover. This was shown in previous videos. So now we're going to insert it. And there it is. And that looks really cool. So now let's drag it inside and see how it fits. So as you can see, it doesn't fit. We don't care about these blue lines. We care about this rectangle, this page here. It has to come to the edge, top, bottom, and side. If it overlaps, I'm going to do this and just overemphasize it. If it overlaps, as you can see here, this part, because here, down here is your part of the cover, anything outside of that is not going to show. Anything on the inside is going to show. So right now you're cutting the hand off, so not a good way to size your picture. So let's go back and start and do it the right way. So this picture is going to have to stretch out a bit past this. So we're going to always go from side to side, top side, bottom side, never in the middle or the outside middle, always from the sides. It won't distort. And I'll show you why. If you drag it here, see how the hand became fatter? We'll use the arrow to go back to the example. If you go here to shrink it, let's say, it becomes compressed and squashed, and you lose some of your DPI, which is dots per square inch, which is really important because we want to try to achieve at least a 300. Pretty much we want to be at 300. We can be a hair under that, but we don't want to go too far below because your picture will, your book cover will look bad. The smaller your book cover, you have a little more leniency. The larger your book cover, the more the pixels will show up as not as clean, kind of, it just won't look right. So let's go back to where we first loaded the photo, my cover photo, and then let's just manipulate it. And I like to do it ever so. I like to just kind of take my time, get as close to the edge as I can. You can drag it back down, but you can still see we're still gonna have to manipulate. So let's go back and then let's drag this corner down a little bit. So we're outside a little bit, but we're fitting the cover. This is the only way the cover is gonna fit. And one way to check what this looks like is to magnify or zoom it and then actually give it the once over. So we're looking for, we don't want to see any white here. And we don't see any, and we don't want it on the bottom. You can torque this a little bit if you want. I pretty much are going to leave it alone. We're going to go back to, we said like 50, and now we have our cover. The other thing I wanted to show you was I've already pre-set up my boxes of the Cancer, Seek and Destroy. The Little C, the story of a family's fight with cancer, and revised edition. Those are a little hard to see because they're just the way the software works, but now you can see a little bit better. And those are all separate boxes for your title. And we went over that, so you kind of understand. So for time purposes, we're going to just sort of already have these set up, and then we can show you how they look and build our cover. So once you've built your text box and you've saved, 3 or 4, whatever you're going to have, you might just have your title and your name on it. However you design your cover is definitely up to what you want to do. You want to go on Amazon, look in genres that you're writing about, and look at how they did their covers, the fonts they used. You can go on Google and type in free fonts, and then you can load fonts like sci-fi fonts or romance fonts or fantasy fonts or whatever. So because your fonts are a really important part of your cover. So look around on Amazon and see what other authors did with their covers. They may not have created their cover. They might have paid because they're making enough money to afford someone to do the book, and they don't want to take the time. They just want the book done, everything edited, and they just want to do the one thing, which is write. So, but I don't have that luxury. I don't have that money. I had to do this all on my own. So again, let's drag this in. Now here is an effect that's going to happen, so you don't have to freak out or anything like that. It's disappeared. Because what happened was the box that we have now went behind the photo or the cover or the image or whatever you want to call it. but it's still there. All you have to do, go back to home, click it, make sure you're in the home, and then go to bring forward. So now what's going to happen is that the Cancer Seek is going to come forward, and this is pretty cool, and there it is. Now, as you can see, and we'll kind of zoom in a little bit, the lettering, the font, you can see the picture behind it, like C and the N and the A and the C. You can see the pictures behind it. So it hasn't blocked it out, it's blended in. I like that. I think that's pretty cool that you don't have to worry about that. So let's go back to 50, and let's take the destroy, which is the second part, and let's just kind of bring this a little bit lower. And I'm going to show you the reason behind it. Now we've lost it. Where did it go? We're going to go back up to home, go into bring forward, and there it is. So let's do that with a little C. Got to move that. It's disappeared. Bring forward, there it is. Now there's ways of taking, like, say you want to inlay another, we're going to go back to bring forward. There you go. Say you wanted to take another picture and you wanted to bring it forward, but you wanted it like to kind of fade so it's sort of subliminally there. It's there, you have to kind of look, but it's not prominent. So you would, this is another thing, but it just will plant this in your head. You would go in and you would actually bring it forward and then you would make it transparent. And you can get the transparency to 100% where it's gone, or just so it's an image that you have to kind of like see, but it's there. So that's how they make covers, like fantasy covers, where they have images on top of images and other images. A lot of them, I would think, are done graphically. So when you are drawing, you know, I can't draw, I can't make graphics, so I wouldn't be able to make a cover like that. But you can kind of do a lot of cool things with this software. And the thing that I've learned is your dictionary of information is YouTube. So if you get a little bit confused and you're like, you know, how do I make my a picture transparent on Word or Word Publisher or Microsoft Publisher, just go in and look for a video. The problem with the videos are, not all of the people that teach the videos are really good teachers. They know what they're doing, but it's hard. It was hard for me to catch up to them. So I'm hoping that this video here isn't like that. I want you to be able to feel comfortable with my videos and say, I can follow this guy, I can do what he's talking about, I understand it. So what I do is, when I find something that's valuable, like I may forget this in 3 weeks, but I don't want to search for it again, is I actually copy the URL and then I put it in a email to myself, and then I save it in a folder. Like on Firefox, you can put folders, and I'll put you know, transparency, Microsoft Publisher. I'll put, you know, different things I want to achieve in different folders, so I can go back a year from now, because I forgot how to do it, and use that as a video to watch over again, because it clicked with me, and now it's going to show me what to do. So, all right, let me just bring things a little bit. We'll spread things out a little bit and bring, again, we lost that, so we're going to bring forward. There it is. So, okay, now actually, you know, you could do a title like that and have your name down here. That might, you know, that might be kind of cool. It's not what I wanted, but again, if you saw some books in the genre that you are writing in, and you saw like some book covers that you said, you know, that's kind of want to try that. It's cool, man. You know, everything's been done, so you're not stealing or you're just kind of like saying, I like that, I want to create that myself. It's still your title and your font and your cover, so all you're doing is saying, I really like the way that looks, I want my book to kind of look like that. So I don't necessarily want my book to look like that. So what I'm going to show you is another trick. So we have separate boxes, separate box, separate box, separate box. You go in and click the box, and then click it, follow the line on the top, and you see how it just shrank? Now what happens is on your keyboard you have your number pad on the right, and then next to it you have an arrow up, down, and side left, side right. We're going to use those arrows to manipulate our title. And the reason I like that is because the mouse has these little small little jumps and skips that it's very hard to line things up in precision. So we want to like to move it as close or as far or to the left or right or up or down as possible, but we don't want to skip. We want precision moves, and I'm going to show you. Okay, so now I told you click the box and then you look for your up and down and side arrow and watch what happens. The cancel, seek, and destroy, we can move this without using our mouse, which is kind of glitchy, and we can position it where we want it. Okay, so that looks good. And then we'll go down to the cancel, seek, and destroy, and we're going to move that up. See how much you have control? Just a minute amount. Look how close, like if you wanted to get it right to the C, boom, right there. And you wanted to move it a little bit, boom, right there. See, you have precise control. So let's just see kind of how far we want that. So that looks pretty good. You can also go ahead and zoom and look at your titles. You have a little bit more control. Now we want to get the little C back in, click it, and move that boy around. We want to try to get even spacing. I mean, you can use your ruler here. You can bring this over and look at it and use, again, we're going to use our up and down arrow. So you can really kind of figure out, what your spacing is. Is it 1/8 of an inch, 2/8, whatever it is, and have everything the same. But I like to just eye it. So let's just kind of see what that looks like. The little C. Sorry it's taking so long, but this is like how I work. And also sometimes you're going to drag the actual picture. There we go. So anyway, let's kind of move that over a little bit. Okay, yeah, that's about right. Let's move this over. Now I'm going to just do everything by the arrows because I kind of like to get in that mindset. Now you can fine tune. I can't spend all day doing this or we'll be here for hours, but you can fine tune this yourself. Play with it. Again, you can move it. Anyway, I like working this way. So that looks, for the most part, I mean, something's off a little bit here. I think maybe this is a hair off. Maybe like that's better. One of the other tricks I can do is I can print it out on paper on my printer and take a look at it as a cover and see what it looks like and kind of like, I want to make a little change here. Yeah, you go through your printer cartridges, but it's part of the process. It's kind of cool. So you can do copies and take a look. You're not looking for, don't use photo paper or anything. You're just kind of looking for, like, how does it look to the eye? Pretend that's your cover on a piece of paper that's, printer paper, and then say, no, that looks pretty good. I like the way, we're looking for how things line up and so forth more than the design itself at this point, because you're going to literally not use, photo paper. You're going to use regular paper. So the only other thing we have to do is, again, make my name, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to make my name look fancy. We click that. We're going to draw a box. And we're going to take a size. I'm going to make this maybe like 26. And again, it doesn't matter what font we're using, because that's your job of not only finding a photographic or drawing or whatever that you like as your cover, but finding fonts that look good. And the other thing I wanted to say is everything always looks really good on your computer, your computer screen and your software. Sometimes what Amazon does is it's showing a thumbnail of your cover, so it's not really showing a super high res picture of your cover, whether it's an ebook or a paperback. So sometimes you have to tweak it to get it to even look better than it normally. Even though if you sent away for the copy of your book the way you had it, and you got your book and it was like, this is bam, I hit it, this is it, this is a home run, but it still looks a little, just doesn't kind of, jump out at you on Amazon. Sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit to get that to happen. Sometimes it's your cover, sometimes it's the color of your cover or your fonts or whatever. So there's a little bit of a process. It's like writing, editing, and then reading it again, and then editing again until you kind of really get it sharp where it's perfect. Covers are the same way. I don't see why you would want to go out and hire someone to do a cover for you. That's not a guarantee your book's going to sell. The cover can't make the story any better. The description is yours. You hire out for everybody. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm writing a book called Self-Publishing 101. You can hire out and spend over $1,000 easy with a blink of an eye, and your book may make $100. So is it worth it to spend $1,000 to make $100? I don't know. Is it worth it to do it yourself? And you really think you have a really good cover, your friends like it, people that you've given copies of your books to compliment it, they like it, and you're still not making any money, but you haven't lost any money. You've only lost time, and time is not relevant to writing. You don't write to say, well, I just wasted 3 months or a year on my book and nothing happened. That's part of writing, man. It's not an overnight success. Sometimes it's not ever going to be a success because maybe your story isn't interesting to people. So, go figure, man. Not everybody's a millionaire. So we got to make this white or red. We'll click it, and then M-A-N. Boy, there we go. So now we can play around with this. Again, I'm not looking here to make anything permanent. I'm just kind of showing you an example. Now that looks a little tweaky because we got those fingers kind of in the way. So obviously we're going to bring this down. I haven't seen many people play with it this way, the way I do. So, let's just say we can actually make this red. So go into the font color and find red. And the red I used was this, I think. So there we go. So let's just say that's your cover. Okay, let's say for right now, well, we obviously want to lower this. That's your cover. Boom. I'm not trying to make this perfect. I'm just trying to show you how you can make it perfect. But let's just say that's my cover. It's pretty close to what my book cover looks like. If you go on Amazon and type in Lawrenzo Manza in the search box, my books will come up. So not bad. It's pretty close to what I had. Now, the next thing I'm going to do before we end this video, because I don't want to make these videos long, and this one I know is way long, is we want to save it. And we want to save it so we can go back in and edit it at any time, a year from now, a day from now, whenever. And sometimes we will have a cover that we've saved, and then we go in and we play with it, and then we save it again, and we play with it a little bit more, and we save it again. And before we know, we have 5 or 7 versions of the cover, And unless you either put a date or first, second, third, or fourth, or some sort of code that you know that is the last time you played with this particular, edited this cover, I like to put the date. So today, is the 15th of March. So let's say tomorrow I go on it and I play with it a little bit more. Now I'm going to put, like Cancer Seek and Destroy 3/16/19, and then 3/17/19, because even if I played with it 2 or 3 times during the day, but I don't want to delete anything, I'm going to have to change it so I know what the last change is, because once you get it right, then you can erase everything, but you want to kind of keep track of what you're doing, or you'll end up not knowing what's what. So now let me show you the trick here, because this is really important. So when we go to save this, we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Save As, and it brings up the box. Now, this is what we want to be able to use to edit. This is not to be saved as a cover. We are going to save it as a cover next, and I'll show you. But we want to have 2 versions. We want to have an edit version so we can go in and edit it and play with it. And then we want to have the cover version, which is like the cemented edit version as a cover. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll show you. So you can go ahead and put anything you want as a file name. Like I said, you can put the date. You can put today's 03 space 15 space 19. So now when I save this, if I play with it again, we change this to 16, and we change it to 17, and now I have 3 versions. And then let's say, I want the second version, so that would be 3/16/19, and then that's the version you want to keep. Then you delete the other version. So save it as a publisher file. Save it to whatever place. If you have it in a file like the little C covers, go ahead and save it to that folder. And now anytime you want to edit, manipulate, add, delete, move, whatever, it's there. That is like your masterpiece to rework it in the future, in a week, in a day, whatever. So I'm not going to save it because I already have it saved. I don't want to show you the other thing that we do. Now we want to save it as an ebook cover and a paperback cover, where we can't go in and manipulate it because it's saved that way. The publisher file we just saved was an edited file that you can go back into this program and do all sorts of things you want. You can start over, remove things, whatever. But the saved book cover, it's done. You can't change it until you go back to this edited program and play with it and then resave it. So let's go back into Save As. Now we're saving it as the book cover. And here's what you want to change. Again, it doesn't, what I would put here, because this is not going to be an edited version, I would put book cover, you could put the title of the book, and then again, this is 03/15/19. And now, before you do anything, go down to Save As Type, and the file we want to save it as. There's 2 ways to do this. You can save it as a JPEG file, which is what I'm going to do here, or as a PDF file. And what a PDF file allows you to do is it allows you to create on KDP your cover and your back cover, and it allows you to load it differently. And I'll show you both examples on the next video, but for now we're going to save it as a JPEG file. And now here's like the super duper important thing. It says down here resolution, and you see it says standard printing 150. It says DPI dots per square inch. That's like super low res. So if you hit change, you go up to this where it says change resolution. You want to change it to a high quality printing or commercial press, which is 300 DPI. That's like the standard. Now, if you started with a very bad photo and you think that you can save it as a high quality, it's not going to work that way. So you have to have a high quality photo in the beginning in order to keep the resolution, but got to make sure that this is changed. And you hit OK, and now you see the resolution's changed to high quality printing. So with that said, now this is our cover. We can't play with this cover. It's saved as a cover. The other one was saved as an editing publishing file. So you need to understand those two differences. Then pick where you're going to save it. Again, we would go to like this in the little C, and then we would save it, and it's going to say book cover. So we know book cover means the cover. It means it's the finished product. The editing publisher save is something we can go in and change as much as we want, because it's the editing version of the software, not the saved final product. So we'd save that, and then your book is cover is saved. It's going to look kind of like this. Forget all this stuff, doesn't matter. This is your cover right here. That doesn't look bad. It's pretty close to what my cover looks like, very close to it. And this is basically how you do covers. So I'm hoping that this kind of fits in with what you want to do. And once you get the book like I did, so real quick, the first time I did this with my other book and I sent away for the copy, I was at 289 DPI or 290, and I thought my book's just going to look so amateurish when I get it. It's going to look like it was printed off my printer, not, through a book company. And so I was like, because my luck, it's like there's always a bump in the road, and I have to figure out how to get over that bump. But I eventually do, and then everything's clear sailing. But I was like so waiting for that to come and open it and say, I gotta figure this out. But the book came out and it looked beautiful. I mean, it looked like so hot. I was so excited, because I worked so hard on writing the book, editing the book, re-editing. I must have edited hundreds of times to get it to the way I liked it. And but when I held it in my hand, I flipped the pages and I felt the cover and I looked at the fonts, and then I opened and looked at the chapters and heard the little sound the pages make when you're changing pages and so forth. It was like the real thing. The real McCoy, man, was right there, and I was stoked, and I still am, and you will be too. Trust me, this is not a fly-by-night, like fly by the seat of your pants. This is going to turn out. This will print out as a really nice cover if this is the cover I wanted, and I was happy with it, and this fit the book I was writing about. This cover will, because I have proof of it. It looked super cool when I got it from Amazon, and I was like so excited. And I gave it to a couple of friends just to sort of say, I want to test this and have you look at it. And they loved it. They were like, man, seriously, you did this and you wrote the book, and how did this happen? I didn't know you were a writer, It's very cool. So thank you, and we'll talk again. The next video will be shorter.